Don't have a half-finished marketing plan. With this video, you're going to know exactly what to add to your marketing plan and why. You'll probably want to watch this part in multiple pieces and even follow along. There is going to be a lot of thinking and a lot of research to do, but that's good. Once you've done it, you don't need to do it to the same level again. It should stay relatively the same from now on. Here's a list of everything you want in your strategy document. Some are more or less important than other pieces, but that really depends on your business. This section looks into the past of your business and marketing. You'll want to answer the main questions of what campaigns and strategies worked well, what didn't work well, and what are the main strengths and weaknesses of your business, product, and brand. Some elements I like to include in here are SWOT analysis. It's a classic piece, but always a great overview. The sales numbers from the previous time period. You could break this down however you want, but the main point is to see an overview of the trend in sales. Is it going up? How fast? And is it staying stale? Next is market research. In here you want to add all of the important information from the market research you've done. The purpose of this is to give a more quantitative reason of any messaging or campaigns you plan to run. You'll want to include a competitive analysis, so think about where you sit next to your competitors. What do you do better or worse? Do you have a target compared to them? And what brand voice do they have? You'll also want to add in as much opportunity analysis as possible. Think about any industry trends, tech trends, cultural shifts, economic trends, and expansion opportunities. Finally, in this section, add in as much consumer information as possible. If you've spoken to 30 target consumers, add their quotes and data in here. This is super important. For goals, you want to include 3 levels. First is the overall company goals. What is everyone in the business working towards? Is it increasing revenue, profit, market share? This will affect the next set of goals, which is the marketing team goals. Now I'm building a whole video around goals, and it'll probably be here or something. Marketing team goals are how the team contributes to the company goal. There won't be a lot of them, maybe 2 or 3 if that. For instance, if a company wants to increase revenue, one of the marketing goals would be to increase new customer signups or increase customer retention. You can see a direct link between those 2 goals. Finally, you want to add any and all campaign goals you have. So taking the previous example of increasing customer signups, your campaign goal might be to rank higher in search results for a specific set of keywords. For marketing plans, this is a forward-looking approach to your overall marketing based on the goals you've set. So look back at the goals of increasing revenue or search rankings, and then think about the execution methods to hit those goals. For search rankings, it could be the plan is a content marketing campaign for a set of keywords or a topic. You can have multiple plans at the same time, you just need to consider your available resources. Typically, if you have a small team or a low budget, focus on one area at a time, nail it, and then you can start to move on. What area is going to move the needle the most? The content you want to have here is going to be the overall campaign strategy. So content marketing in this case, the goal it's targeted for, the timeline, and expected results. If you want to be really fancy in this section, you can add plus and negative planning. This gives you the key focus of if our marketing does less than expected, what do we do then? What's our backup plan? But also, if we do really well and the revenue starts flying in, what do we get back? Do we get more budget, more team members? And what do we do with them? It works both ways, and if you don't add this, then you can't expect to get more budget when you succeed. If you want to see the types of marketing plans, go to this video. You already know what goes in here, your ideal audience, who are you talking to and selling to, the classic personas. However, there are some ways to spice this up. First, you can add psychographics in here, where demographics are the person's location, age, income, all of the data that could group them statistically. Psychographics handle their thinking. What does this person value? What are their desires and goals? These are really more important than demographics. Back in the day, a demographic made more sense because you would advertise on a local billboard, and that would be pretty much it, which meant you really wanted to know where people were physically. Now, you don't have a limit to where a person is. Someone on the other side of the world could buy your product. So instead of grouping your audience by where they are, you can group them by who they are. Which brings me perfectly to segmentation. You also want to segment your audience into groups. While they are all your ideal audience, and depending on your company size, you might have more or less audiences, for a startup, I would suggest 1 to 3 groups. For a larger company, you could times that by product groups, which could lead to 50 plus audience groups. But say you have your 3 main groups. That's great, but there is going to be some crossover between them. So find that crossover and develop subgroups. This matters because it can influence your messaging and targeting in campaigns. We now need to look at our messaging platform. For starters, you want to have a positioning statement. While this can be in any format, you can also use a template. The statement needs to include your product, customer, benefits, purpose, and X factor. You can see in this template here, you have all of those pieces of information neatly wrapped into a sentence. This isn't going to be used externally, but is the guiding force for the business and potentially is already developed by the leadership team or founders. Next is the messaging that riffs off this positioning statement to provide consistent guidance to any communication that goes out to customers. Now, you can add a lot here. There is rarely going to be one messaging platform, but don't go too crazy. The idea is to separate your messaging between the overall company or brand level messaging, which talks about the purpose of the brand and is sometimes called a tagline, your product messaging, which explains each product or service you offer. This might only be one, some products are more complex than others, and then your ideal audience level messaging. So the groups you made earlier, each of them are going to react differently to different messages. Think about their values and what they are looking for in a product like yours and speak to them. Messaging by channel and more if you want, but the main 3 that you do want are the company level, product level, and audience level. These are going to have the most impact immediately on your growth and marketing. Moving on from messaging to more words, you want anyone to be able to read this section and easily understand what the product is about. It doesn't want to be marketing talk, just plain, clear descriptions of the product and its value. Secondary to this, you want to understand the product roadmap. What is the company planning on building, releasing, and when? Again, this section is something that should have been done by the product team already, so you shouldn't actually have to add anything new, just put it into your doc. It's important to do though, because if you don't have a clear view on what is coming up and when, how are you going to plan your go-to-market strategy? How are you going to develop valuable marketing pieces to promote these new and exciting pieces of product? You can't. So add this section and be the product's best friend. This piece is a great reference point for marketing. It helps you to see how much people are going to spend on your product, what the average spend is, and how things are packaged so that you can promote those effectively and to the right people. There is no point trying to promote a £1,000 a month service to a mom and pop startup with no money. This obviously should be already known from your targeting, but it's always good to know how the revenue side of the business works, as you, a marketer, have a direct effect on it. What you'll need to include here are a pricing table for each product, packages you offer, sales that have happened or are coming up, the profitability of each of these, what your competitors are priced at, and the ROI on each of the prices, and even the win-loss rate on those. That's really what you want in this section. What you actually can then do with this information is up to you, but it can help you. As a marketer, we have a unique opportunity within businesses to make big changes. Look at the elements we've listed here. What can a marketer actually help with? The answer is all of them, because we can help test and experiment with new pricing strategies to increase profitability. We can set up sales to gain more customers, existing ones, and we can target our marketing better to increase the ROI or win rate on these products. Learning about revenue is important for a marketer, unfortunately. You might have a sales team, you might not. This section isn't dependent on either of those two things. Either way, you need to help make sales. How you do that depends on your business. What you want to add here for a marketing team is how you distribute your products. Is it all online? Do you need to post anything? Do you have physical stores or partners? A lot to be asked here, a lot that should have already been done by the founder, sales, or a product team. This affects you because it helps you unlock more opportunities in different channels. If you post your products to a person, what does the packaging look like? Do you drop any extra notes in there to promote other products or sales? These can have a big impact on hitting your goals, so essential to think about. Next, you want to understand the LTV, or lifetime value of a customer. Essentially, when you get a new customer, how much do they spend with the business on average before they leave? Important to know again, because this can help you prioritize certain marketing strategies, as well as give you a better reporting structure. If every new customer averages an LTV of £1,000, and your marketing efforts to them average £10, then your marketing is giving an ROI of 1,000%. If that doesn't help you get more budget, then nothing will. Finally, you need to understand the sales team's goals or the product team goals to help see where you can help. This section is dependent on having a sales team, so if you don't, feel free to skip it. Essentially, you want to plan an element of supporting the sales team so they can have success. This could be through helping build new slide decks, creating specific pieces of content that answer frequently asked questions, or even training on your messaging. You don't want to become the sales team lapdog, but you do want to work with them to bring success. And if you can plan as much of that as possible in advance, your life is going to be easier. This part may or may not be relevant to you right now as well, which come in all shapes and sizes. The key here is that you need to understand who your partners are, who you'd like to partner with, and how partnerships work. Some elements to add here are partner goals. What is the goal for you with a partner? How many partners do you want to have? And also, what is the goal for a partner? What do they need to do to work with you? Partner strategy, so how do you get new partners on board? And what is the process and timeline for that? Partner program is an overview and outline of what your partner program actually looks like and what they get in return and how it's set up. Finally, and most importantly for us, joint marketing programs. How do you market with your partners? How do you leverage their networks and their community? Next is one for everyone. Your channel strategy is really going into detail for every channel you want to use in your marketing and how you use them to be effective. Start off with the list of channels. This could be each social media platform, search, email, in-store, out-of-home, PR. The list can go on forever. Then write a small description of how you plan to use those channels and what messaging and content works best for them. This is similar to your marketing plan or campaigns, but is all around elements that are consistently running. They may not have a set timeline or audience attached to them. The tricky part between campaigns and programs is what to put where. For instance, SEO could be considered both. You generally run it for certain keywords, but there isn't an endpoint. You have to consistently create and update content, adding new keywords, removing others, updating the website and backlinks. There is a lot of consistent work that goes into SEO that is not linked directly to a campaign. But equally, you might be running a campaign for a new audience that is going heavy on SEO content to rank for those keywords. You'll want to separate these two into their varying components so you can keep track of them. The overall SEO work, for instance, would track branded keywords, top-level keywords, and ones that you always want to rank for, whereas campaign-level SEO is specific audience-based keywords. Some elements that would tie into programs are PR, so think about what PR you might run, or is there a goal to set an amount of PR pieces done in the year? It's good to set a goal here, but it doesn't need to be maintained, for a lot of PR is around opportunities. Next is partners. You'll want to consistently work with partners and need to help maintain that relationship. So what work will you need day to day, week to week for that? Community is building about a community that takes a lot of consistent work. You can't attach this to a specific campaign. It is a constant. So add that here and any goals related to it and its progress. Loyalty can be broken down into 3 ways: through repeat customers, loyalty programs, or retention. What work do you do to grow these areas, and what opportunities might arise? This area isn't a day-to-day tracker, that's for each individual campaign to have. This section looks at the overall planning and execution of your marketing strategies, product launches, and programs. Create a simple timeline or calendar that lists all of these elements, when a campaign starts and ends, any specific dates for activations, or what week is a new product meant for launch. Here, you want to create an org chart of your team, specifically the marketing team and anyone else attached to that. This is to plan out all of your resources and expertise, so you can see where you might lack and justify any additional headcount. It also helps to work out exactly how much work each person might have any given month, and again, to see if there is a balance and an achievable amount of work. There are thousands of marketing tech tools available, and most marketing teams have a good few subscriptions to help them do their best work. So to keep hold on what you've got available, what is used a lot and what maybe isn't used as much, and what tools are now redundant, it's always good to build your tech stack. A simple list with an overview, cost and frequency of use will do the trick here. Any new tools you get along the way, just update the list. We've got a big piece coming up. It's pretty tricky to manage for most marketers. Budgets. In this section, you don't need to break down every cent the marketing team spends. That's what accountants are for. But you do need to understand the plan and where your budget is going. This is a super important section for a lot of reasons. My favourite is, you can dictate your budget. Yes, it can happen, people. Rather than being told how much you can spend in any given time frame, if you plan correctly and communicate clearly why you need the budget, you can often get a nice increase that is going to help everyone in the business. Here's what you need to add to make that possible. The headcount and costs associated with that, the tech spend, marketing tech can get expensive, your budget per campaign, and a discretionary budget for those elements that would be cool but are not life or death. And finally, sales numbers. If you can budget well and correlate that to an increase in sales, then you will get any budget you want. Trust me. No good marketing plan is finished without a little risk. In this section, you want to add in any experiments you might want to run to try and reach your goals. And remember, it's still all about the goals. Some experiments could be A/B tests on your landing pages, ads or emails, product messaging tests to see if you could change the messaging for an increase in your goal, pricing tests to make sure that your pricing strategy is still effective, or any market research that you want to run. The experiments are up to you. Make sure you have a clear idea of what you want to test and just write it down. If you want to learn more about experiments in marketing, drop a comment down below. You have your goals and campaigns all set up here. You now need to put down how you're going to measure success against those. Most of the metrics are going to be centered around sales performance, return on investment, but there are other metrics to consider too, and that can move the needle, but are still harder to measure directly, like brand performance. The metrics really depend on the goals and campaigns, so you'll have to manage those efficiently. You hate to think about anything bad happening, but it is always better to be aware of or challenges you might face. You see, one of the biggest problems a marketer has is that there is so much outside of their control. Got a great plan for that new product launch? Oh, it's not ready on time. Okay, I guess we'll push all of that back and fill that space with something else. Cookies are banned forever? Cool, gotta think of how to manage the lead attribution then. You see, things happen in marketing that we can't control. Start this with your assumptions on what you need to be successful. In an ideal world where everything goes right, what does that look like? Then you can start to get down who you are dependent on for that to happen. Is it the product team? Is it sales? And what people need to help you to get that job done. And finally, scenario planning. This could be anything that could go wrong or affect your work. So it's hard to give a comprehensive list, but here are some ideas to get you started. What happens if a team member leaves? What happens if your marketing doesn't perform well? What do you do? What happens if your budget gets cut? What happens if the industry changes dramatically, like AI being involved? What happens if your competitors outpace you? And that's it, you're done. I know it's a big task, but like I said earlier, once you've done it once, a lot of that will stay the same. You just need to update it every few months to keep on track and make sure you're referencing and communicating this plan regularly. If you liked this video, please leave a like, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.